Capabilities is in about 16 different places. It started in, I'm totally not going to go by this order, by the way.
Sorry, screwed up.
No, it's cool. It's better if we just talk about it, I think. But it's in 16 different places right now. It started in right outside of Rochester, New York in 1996. A professor at SUNY Brockport started it. And that was the first one. And since then, it went from there. The second was in Alaska. And now it's in places like Finland, Ireland, Florida, Maryland, California, Iowa, Connecticut. There's another one in New York on Long Island. There's a couple in South America, Costa Rica and Guatemala. I think that's South America. And every year, they service more kids. So there's a breakdown on the Capabilities New York website that tells you exactly how many students that they've serviced over this 16 or 17 years that they've been going. And I think it's like 15,000 kids now, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It's a one-week developmental sport camp. By developmental, it's not high-level sports. It's not USABA or Paralympic-level sports. It's for kids that don't necessarily get to play sports every day. The goal is really to get physical activity in the forefront of their mind. A lot of kids that have different varying disabilities are not necessarily in good shape because they don't have opportunities to participate. And one of our goals is to, show them that they can do things, and there's sports that are available for them, and even the sports within their regular phys ed program are available to them if they have a good phys ed teacher and they're willing to try new things. And this is the name of the woman who founded it. She's a friend of mine, Lauren Lieberman, back in New York. And the picture on the bottom is two camp counselors with a student named Noah in Alaska, who's adorable. The more adorable the kids, the better the presentation. These are some of the places that it's located. Like I previously said, Alaska, Connecticut, Arizona, Florida, Maryland, Iowa, California, Puerto Rico, Guatemala, Finland, Ireland, Massachusetts, at Perkins School for the Blind, and Long Island, which is where I'm originally from. The activities that they do, every camp has different activities, mostly based on the facility that they're at and where they are in the country. So in Alaska, we go hiking, and we hike some pretty advanced routes with the kids, and they love it, and they do very well. At Brockport, since it's the first camp and it's funded by, they have a lot of funding. They have all the cutting-edge stuff. So like the weed that you just donated, they use the weed with the kids, and they do a lot of research on whether or not different adaptations to the weed are good for kids with visual impairments. There's something called VI Fit that's an adaptation for the weed, and they use that there. They also have mobile rock walls that they bring in. They go canoeing. At the other camp I did in Connecticut, we had a zip line, and we had a high ropes adventure course, and those were very fun for the kids and for the counselors and for the directors, and everybody got to try things that were pretty far out of their comfort zone. A lot of fun. We're hoping, actually it's not really a hope anymore, we're planning to be at Ohio State School for the Blind. They have a lot of good things facility-wise that we need. They have all the sports equipment that we need, and I've been talking back and forth with them for quite a while about how to set in that our camp will be there, and we're going to be there June 10th to 15th, I believe, based on a couple of variables that we haven't figured out yet.
So you're doing it for 1 week?
It's a 1 week camp.
With these other camps, is it just 1 week, or is it kind of through the summer, and kids come for 1 week at a time?
So in each area, it's 1 week. So the kids don't really go from state to state because a lot of the states are federally funded or state funded. But it's more like the counselors kind of go from week to week. So if I do, like I plan to work at Capabilities Ohio, and then from there go to Alaska to do the camp in Alaska. But they are segmented, so each week there's a camp somewhere else, and that's good for the counselors because most counselors are pre-service teachers who are being trained in some college, and giving them this experience to teach kids with visual impairments is just going to help them in the future be better teachers. But the students don't typically go to more than one unless they have the funds.
I just didn't know if you had several weeks of camp in one state where different kids would come in for each week.
Ohio State School for the Blind has several camps, but this is the only one that I'm really going to be involved with. They have a math and movement camp that they're starting for the first time in like 10 years. They're restarting it. They have a science and movement camp, but it's not the same type of stuff. And those are for younger kids. This is going to be for kids 12 to 18, I think. And this is Rose, my favorite kid that I've ever had. She has a visual impairment. She also has cerebral palsy. So she walks kind of slow, but that just gives me more time to get to know her when we're walking around. Why campabilities? So what's great about campabilities? These are the benefits that camp has. The socialization, the kids learn what they can do in other physical activity environments. There's an assessment that we're going to provide to their phys ed teachers afterwards. So when they leave, we're going to give their parents a physical activity assessment on what different things the kid can do, and that's going to show the phys ed teacher, hey, listen, this kid that you have in your class can do everything all the other kids are doing. Now you need to work on adapting things for the specific needs. And also it gives the parents a respite, which in some cases is important for parents. And that picture is tandem biking, which Ohio State School for the Blind has tandem bikes for us to use. Benefits. Another benefit is that USABA is the United States Association for Blind Athletes, and they are high level. And one thing we try to do is introduce the kids to sports that are in USABA, like goalball, or I think showdown is going to be in USABA, or track and field, things of that nature, so that if they are excelling, then we'll introduce them to this organization, which will take them to higher level and possibly eventually Paralympic level. And the last one's one of my favorite lines is empower children to know what they can do and share that with others. And that others, once again, is their phys ed teacher, but also their peers, their friends. Sometimes the students in Alaska I know, they come from these small islands like Wrangell that I just mentioned with Wyatt. And on that island, he's one of like 40 kids in his high school, and he's the only person that has a visual impairment. So sometimes, they're all playing a sport, and they're like, well, Wyatt has a visual impairment, he's not going to play. But he is borderline Paralympic level sprinter. He's one of the fastest people I've ever met. So him knowing that and him going back and telling him that from 10 years of campabilities experience in Alaska really helped his confidence. And now he's at Portland State University, which is great. And some more benefits. The first benefit is for the pre-service teachers, like I had mentioned, how they get experience teaching kids with visual impairments, which is very important. Increasing the children's work with their community and helping to increase self-efficacy, self-esteem, self-worth of the kids and of the volunteers. And I can tell you from my perspective, the first year I was involved, I volunteered at the camp in Alaska, thinking that I was going to volunteer at a camp and then go travel in Alaska. But what had happened was I went from being a phys ed teacher to pursuing a master's degree in adaptive phys ed, and everything since then has been, adaptive physical education. I've never went back to teaching typically developing kids. Now I just teach children with varying disabilities, and for me, this has been a life-changing program. So if there's no other reason why I do this, it's because it's impacted me quite a bit, and I love what I do. This is another really interesting aspect of camp. The camp in Brockport does a ton of research related to better physical activity opportunities for kids with visual impairments, and that's something I hope to continue in Ohio while we're here. Some of the camps don't work on this aspect, but I think it's important because we're just making more improvements. And the research, to go through this list, and I'll send this to Ron, the PowerPoint afterwards, so everybody can take a look at it if he spreads it around. I'm sorry that I didn't think through the projector idea. But the research has gone from everywhere from developing new health curriculums for kids with visual impairments to using the Wii and extra gaming to see whether or not they actually work. A lot of perceived confidence stuff, barriers to physical activity, so they've surveyed the kids and asked them about their home life and what different barriers there are so that we could be aware of them. There's really a long list of research. This is probably maybe a fifth of the research they've done at that one camp alone. So the possibilities are really good for us making other improvements outside of the camp. the support staff, like I had mentioned a few times, a lot of the volunteers are graduate and undergraduate students from different universities. Being here, my goal is to use OSU. It's a huge school, and they have a TBI program, they have an O&M program, they have an adaptive physical education program, and then they have elementary and secondary programs as well. So we have tons of people who are planning to be teachers in the future, and if we can get 20 of them to volunteer sometime during the camp week, then we're educating them on teaching children physical activities. And they're coming in with their expertise as well. So if we have a child who has ASDVI, who has autism and a visual impairment, if we have somebody from the special ed department, their expertise in autism is going to help us. So that's quality. The staff, the sport-specific staff that we're going to use is going to be a combination of phys ed teachers at Ohio State School for the Blind, people with visual impairments who have sport background, like Ron's going to teach some martial arts. And then we have another guy from the area named Jim Dugas, and he has played high-level goalball, and he's going to come in and teach the kids. And then the rest of them are other people from around the country who are either teachers at schools for the blind, like in Maryland, the Maryland State School for the Blind teacher is going to come here and teach, or myself and other students who have experience in it. And now I believe we're just down to really cool photos. The top left is Capabilities Connecticut the first year, and it's very small. There was like 20 of us, and that's kind of what we're starting at this year. We're going to start with 16 to 20.
How many children have participated over the years?
At which camp? At this specific...
Total, or...
So this was the first year Camp Connecticut happened, and it was 16 kids, and the next year we go, all right, well, 16 was pretty easy. Let's see what we could do. We had 55 kids the next year, and we had over 125 people in the camp, considering one-to-one volunteers and staff, and it was crazy, but it was a lot of fun.
Are the kids staying overnight?
Yes. Okay. The kids stay overnight. At most of the camps, the volunteers stay overnight, but I was just discussing with Ron that at Ohio State School for the Blind, they have overnight personnel. So some of the staff probably will still stay, but if you live in town, there's really no need to stay. We typically, for a normal day at camp, we typically run the kids the entire day, and they're exhausted at night. So we start off with breakfast. We go into 3 blocks of activities, be it swimming or goalball or deep baseball or showdown, track and field, hiking, canoeing, kayaking, and then we'll have lunch, do 3 more activities, and then we'll have like a nighttime activity, and that's a little calmer, maybe a talent show, maybe we do a Lions night in Alaska. The Lions Club 49A in Alaska and Capabilities Alaska are like one group. We are very friendly with each other. That's one of the reasons I'm not uncomfortable with you guys, because
I noticed the Lions emblem there, and
yes,
wondered what the...
That's why I wore the shirt.
Lion's a major sponsor.
They are the only sponsor of Capabilities Alaska. I'm not trying to say this is what I'm hoping from anybody here, but they sponsor the camp, and they sponsor about $50,000 a year. And it's because it's the entire state. So the state of, or half the state is A, half the state is 49B. And Lions Club 49A is pretty big, so they have the ability to, help us out. And we show a lot of appreciation. We wrote an article for Lions Club International Magazine last spring, so we got to show our appreciation to the Lions Club by writing what they did for us and putting it in that magazine. And I could send you guys that as well if you'd like.
Do you know which one was in Chicago?
I'm sure you do. No.
Okay.
I'll look it up and I'll email that to Ron also.
You don't keep it?
I keep all of them. I do. I keep
There's no which one that is.
I keep that one because I'm like, wow, look at that. A picture of one of my students is in this international magazine. That's pretty cool. But and so we do a Lions night every year where we go to a park that the Lions Club owns, and they buy pizza and the kids come in, and we just intermingle, and we do a demonstration of a sport, beep baseball, for them. And we've done beep baseball, and last year we did beep kickball, which is a new sport. And everybody loves it. It's a good time. Anyway, so
What is goalball?
Goalball is a 3-on-3 Paralympic sport for kids that are blind or visually impaired. And this is what it looks like, the ball. It's a dense, it's like the size of an old school kickball,
Okay.
but it's very dense, and there's a bell inside of it. And the objective is to roll the ball past the other team while they try to block it with their bodies. But the rolling isn't like rolling a ball like a 2-year-old does, it's more like rolling a ball like a bowling ball, as fast as you can. So
And they're sitting on the floor, is that what they're doing?
they,
Is that all played on the floor, sitting on the floor?
yes,
Okay.
and to know where they are on the court, there's lines that are raised up so they can orient themselves.
Okay.
Regardless of the visual impairments, everybody has a blindfold also, unless he's a bad example. But she has a blindfold. She's also got padding on, I think, too. But it's a Paralympic sport. It's intense.
So everybody wears a blindfold to make it rated?
Even playing field.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, and that's a sport that, so if we teach the kids at the campus sport and they go back to their regular physical education program, why can't they play with everybody? Everybody's blindfolded anyway. I make that argument all the time.
That's incredible. I've never heard of that. That's a great idea. Bring you police down there in terms of vision, right?
Right. It's so much easier than trying to modify everything in another direction. Use a disability sport, raises awareness, shows them different sports from the Paralympics. This picture here is on the side of a mountain that we hike in Alaska with the entire group. Once again, that's my baby. So Camp Abilities Alaska is my baby in comparison to Connecticut, which I worked at this one. And then Ohio is going to be even more of my baby, I guess. And this is just one last final picture of the group. And if it was bigger, you'd see huge smiles on every kid's face, and probably one or two distressed at, why are we taking photos? We should be hiking instead. And I think that's the end of the slideshow that I made. And I'd be more than happy to keep talking about camp because I absolutely love doing it, and I love being involved in it. For Camp Ohio, right now we're in the phase of putting everything together. So we're applying for a few large grants. I'm talking to people about staffing, and the School for the Blind is going to look for the kids. So they have an outreach program where they have a large email database, and they're going to email students and see who's interested, and we're going to go from there.